Hello and welcome to all the Hylians out there. I'm Joe, here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
And we are continuing our exploration of Tears of the Kingdom, which for the most part, visually and color-wise, there's a good palette, and artistically it does look.
No denial from me.
But unfortunately, we have a tutorial that goes on for a really long time, and so we're just going to skip forward a little to the first real Steelward construct of relevance, who points out that you are in the Garden of Time, which immediately kind of reminds me of the Garden of Eden stories from the Bible, which makes sense because there was a lot of medieval literature, especially Arthuriana, that was linked to the Bible, which Zelda's kind of like the Japanese take, as Nehru once said, about how Zelda is the Japanese take on European fantasy fiction. The idea here is that you're not too far from the Temple of Time, which I don't know what they did, but it looks exactly like the Tales of Symphonia Temple of Volt. I'm a little confused here. How did it go from a cathedral shape to a Jenga shape? And then you have the Darius Carlon scene of the platforms connecting themselves together, sort of, and you have to hurry across, and it's clearly magic technology of some sort. And it really is strongly reminiscent of Tales of Symphonia, because from the start, that was fantastic rather than pure fantasy. But that being said, it's not the most important part of this video we have to discuss, because Raru's now a furry! Apparently, I checked out the wiki for spoilers. This Raru married a member of the Hylian race, descended from Hylia. They are the two ancestors of the Hylian royal line. How did we go from Ocarina of Time Raru, who I actually really like the appearance of? I really like that he looked like a monk, which made sense because, you know, like, monks played an integral role in stories like La Morte d'Alciol and other Christian medieval literature like that. I always really liked that aspect of medieval lit. And if you read something like Ivanhoe, you get a few monks in there as well. Oh, and before we continue any further, we have to give a few shout outs to the comment section of our previous Tears of the Kingdom video, where, and I know this is somewhat out of order, but why not, since we're on the topic of Raru and the Temple of Time. Sean the Goat, who left an excellent comment, suggested a good explanation for why Ganondorf was able to overpower and shatter the Master Sword. It is that magic is beginning to weaken in the world, Triforce excluded. And this would actually make a lot of sense. The Triforce will always remain as powerful as ever, but the Master Sword is slowly losing power. This is why in several games it needs constant powering up. Like in A Link to the Past, you have to power it up several times. Makes perfect sense if magic is beginning to fade from the world to an extent. That is actually a theme that is actually taken from Lord of the Rings, and I would argue as well from Conan the Barbarian to an extent with the Hyborian Age. Magic is fading, and so the Age of Man is beginning. It would make a lot of sense for that being the reason why the Master Sword shattered before Ganon's power, where he couldn't do it before, but he can now do it because the Master Sword's weaker. That said, there was someone else who commented that, well, the Secret Stone is what he suggested. It was used to destroy the Master Sword. So maybe Secret Stone, which Ganon used one of the strongest, the Queen's Sigil Stone, versus the Master Sword. And so Master Sword has grown weaker, maybe the stone hasn't. That'd be my theory. Or even if it has grown weaker, Ganon would still have the power of the Triforce of Power under that logic to destroy the Master Sword. So in hindsight, we didn't think of it, but some fans who probably have paid more attention than we have to Zelda over the decades were able to see a possible explanation that makes a lot of sense and flaw in our argument. So I'll actually say I fully concede to the fans of the channel and those comments.
Same here.
Fair enough. The shattering of the Master Sword makes complete sense. So it's a great theme on the idea of Nintendo regarding the weakening of magic. Also, it's great because it references Arthuriana, and for character journeys, it just makes it even more interesting. I really got to take my hats off there, and it improves Tears of the Kingdom a little in my opinion. But getting back to Raru, explains that Link does not yet have the power to open up the Temple of Time, so he needs to go to a rock to get the shrine on another island. Gosh, this just became Mario. The princess is another castle, or in this case, another shrine, sort of. Well, actually, the power lies in another shrine. Mario. Raru then vanishes, and so the quest is to go to 5 shrines. It is revealed that, at the first shrine, that Raru filled the place with light that purges darkness. No need to further analyze, although that does signify that there's some sort of divine essence within Rauru, because if he has the ability to infuse a place with light, it stands to reason, and that has a motif of him being semi-divine, which turns him into a bit of a Merlin-esque type figure of sorts, as Merlin fulfills a similar role in the Arthurianic mythology.
If Merlin was a furry.
Yeah. That said, in-game you get the Ultra Hand. Ultra Hand ability allows Link to fuse objects together, lift them up, flip them around, and make a burger. In all seriousness, this is a pretty integral ability to this game, though it comes, in at least in this level, at the cost of background music. Can we just have the background music instead? Honestly, there was pretty good background music before. No, it was really good in previous parts of the game, even throughout the tutorial. I really liked it. That is my one complaint about this part of the game. At the end of the level, which has no enemies, which that's kind of weird, you have a statue of a Hylian woman with Rauru. You get told, we offer you this light to cleanse the darkness. Link does the Arthuriana thing of praying before a statue of a saint to get the blessing of light. I just summarized the whole idea. Once he steps out of the danger-free shrine, which he's met by the spirit of Rauru past, who tells him, all right, time to pin the other shrine locations on your map. Next shrine is the shrine to combine. Rauru explains that ability, which you get to combine objects and whatnot. That's not as important as Trust Duracell, which the fact that you have one of these construct guardians explaining, here's an energy cell. We have to crack a joke here. It merits a joke. When Mega Man is shooting at Dr. Wily and his most recent Dumbbot creations, he trusts Duracell.
Where's the pink rabbit?
Yeah, because it just keeps on going and going and going. I know a lot of people are in love with this game, but this is funny. Next shrine has the Ascend ability, which I think is basically your Shadow Cat from X-Men comics. The Temple of Time, which the interior has a lot of internal gears and whatnot, so that I'm a little dismayed because I was hoping it would resemble the Temple of Time of old, namely that of Ocarina of Time, which I really liked. This is essentially technology versus tradition, where in this game, there's no hint of the old traditions and of the old cathedral-like temple that was actually very moving to be inside and seemed like a very spiritual place that Hylians might go to for worship and whatnot. This new shrine has nothing of that. That said, I do like the golden stone, but when Link approaches it, Zelda appears before him, her eyes closed and her hand extended for his righty. He gives, because that's his blessed arm in this game, which the right hand being the blessed hand is a thematic idea dating back to the Middle Ages of Christendom. That said, when Link touches Zelda with that hand, he ends up suddenly filled with light, which this is referencing the first meeting with the goddess and how the goddess will often bless the knight in those old traditional medieval stories. And from there, he'll have to go off on the quest to save or achieve the favor of the Lady Fair. After seeing Zelda and touching her, we find out that the first king of Hyrule, Rauru, that we see in the Sacred Realm. The reason I say that is he says, what you saw was a mystery even to me. Perhaps it was a sort of echo, one that reflects her sheer will. Can't help but think that Rauru from Ocarina of Time would know what just happened, but that's just my opinion. We basically have two Raurus. That's my theory here, and my rationalization, because with the other Rauru, the idea is he's supposed to be a Yoda-like figure who knows everything there is to know about the Sacred Realm. At least almost everything. While the intent of the goddesses remains a mystery to him, as he is just their herald in a way, rather like Aeon way to man way, he is still far more knowing and wise than we mortals could ever be. And Link is instructed to go up to a altar at one point, because we decided to skip forward, because once we have here Link standing before a small orb of light, the sword surrounded by light and with a clocking sound in the background, with Zelda then shown across from where Link was standing, clearly in another era. Now, I don't know if she's in the future or further in the past or something. This is actually an interesting plot twist. I actually like this idea that she was sent into another era and Link's in a completely different era, and so he has to do a bit of the time machine, I think movie it's called, and find his way to her across time. This is an actually pretty cool story idea. Link ends up in a scenario where it's finders, keepers, losers, weepers, where he no longer has the Master Sword. And Zelda, in probably what is so far the game's best scene, Zelda clasps the sword. Looks like for the first time in a while she's hopeful. Obviously knows Link is looking for her. And I'm going to actually say, while I didn't have any particular feelings before now about this Zelda and Link, this is the first real romantic scene, in my opinion, that I can actually get behind this Zelda as a character. And I will also add, she looks better in this outfit than she did the other outfit, the Explorer outfit from earlier.
Yeah, I agree.
We're not actually saying she can't wear the other outfit because it worked in Breath of the Wild. It's nice to see her in a different outfit. I got no complaints at this point. On that note, I think we should end this video. I don't think I've got any more to say. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button as though you were Link taking down Ganon for the final time.